You ever have one of those moments where your whole life splits into two parts, before and after? Mine happened on a Tuesday. Gray sky, cold coffee, a silence in the air that felt like foreshadowing. I'm John Vale, 32 years old, an architect by trade. Though honestly, I've always seen myself more as a listener than a builder. I design homes the way people write love letters, quiet, thoughtful, meant to last. I run a small studio just outside Camden. Nothing flashy. A handful of trusted clients. Clean lines. Honest materials. My world runs on precision and calm. At least it did. That morning, I walked into my grandfather's lawyer's office expecting nothing dramatic. Maybe a nod to the years I'd spent shadowing him on job sites. Maybe a piece of land he always said had good bones. I didn't want the empire. I just wanted something real, something earned. Instead, everything, the house, the business, the fortune, the Vale name, went to Marlene, my cousin, the one who used to pretend she didn't know me at school, the one who ghosted Grandpa for 5 straight years and then waltzed back in just in time for his last birthday with some story about spiritual reconnection and blood ties. She was already sitting there when I arrived, wrapped in a camel coat too expensive to make sense, legs crossed like a weapon, and that familiar look on her face, like she knew the punchline to a joke you didn't get yet. "John," she said with fake surprise, "you look grounded." Grounded, like I'd failed at flying. The lawyer, Jonas, cleared his throat and opened the folder. I swear his hands trembled. He read the will in that careful legal tone, but the words didn't hit me all at once. It was only when I heard full transfer of Vale Holdings to Marlene Vale that something inside me froze. No mention of me, not even a thank you, just silence. Marlene leaned toward me afterward, all sugar. I had no idea he'd leave me so much. I thought he'd split it equally. I didn't answer, because if I opened my mouth, I wasn't sure what would come out. That night, I sat on the floor of my flat, still in my suit, staring at the wall. My phone buzzed nonstop. Friends, family, the press. I didn't answer any of them. My grandfather called me a builder, not a borrower. He'd said I had vision, backbone, but when it really mattered, he chose her. And maybe that was the worst part, not the betrayal, the replacement. I thought about quitting architecture altogether, selling the studio, moving somewhere quiet, starting over. But instead, I remembered something Grandpa used to say when a project went wrong. You don't abandon the foundation. You rebuild on it, stronger. So I made a decision. I wouldn't disappear. I wouldn't beg. I wouldn't confront her. No, I would build something she couldn't touch, something the world would notice. And slowly, silently, I'd make her regret everything she thought she'd won. This wasn't going to be a rage-fueled storm. This was going to be architecture, structured, patient, beautifully designed. Revenge doesn't start with rage. It starts with clarity. A clear table, a clear head, a quiet room. I called Theo Cassidy after the reading. We hadn't spoken in months, not because anything was wrong, but because we were the kind of friends who didn't need noise to stay solid. He'd picked up after 2 rings. "Didn't expect to hear from you before Christmas," he said, his voice still half laugh, half cynical shrug. "Marlene got everything." I replied, "Everything? The company, the name, the damn foundation stones." A pause. Then, "So, we building something new or burning something down?" That's why I called Theo. He used to be in cybersecurity, ex-intelligence, low profile, brilliant. Now he consults for tech companies and occasionally helps friends disappear online or reappear as someone new. We met in a quiet cafe in Marylebone the next evening. He showed up in a navy coat with thermos in one hand and a laptop in the other. What's the target? Her, I said. Marlene, you want dirt. I want facts. Real ones. I want every fake signature, every backdated document, every shell company. I want her world mapped from the shadows. He sipped his coffee. Subtle vengeance. I like it. What followed was a quiet war. While the public smiled at Marlene's press launches and her modern vision for Vail Holdings, Theo and I were building a digital case brick by brick. Old emails, offshore transactions, internal memos she didn't think anyone archived. Theo worked fast. He'd slide a folder across the table every few days, each one heavier than the last, metaphorically and legally. This one's good, he said one night. Fake consulting firm, funneled payments. Signed by her assistant. But that's Marlene's handwriting on the revisions. That's fraud, I said. It's also poetic. She framed your integrity like it was a flaw. Now we frame her reality with proof. I started sleeping better, eating again, not because I was happy, but because I had direction. Purpose is a hell of a drug. At night, I'd sit by the window in my flat, looking out over the city my grandfather helped shape. I didn't just want revenge. I wanted to reclaim something. The dignity of the Vail name, the discipline, the craft, the story behind it. Marlene was all spotlight and sound bites. I'd be the silence that unraveled her. My plan didn't involve press or scandal. Not yet. It involved timing, precision, and a single sentence I kept whispering to myself before sleep. She may have inherited the name Vail, but she never learned how to wear it. And I was going to remind her, quietly, thoroughly, and on my terms. There's a difference between losing gracefully and playing the long game. I wasn't interested in grace anymore. It started small. Always does. Marlene had worked hard to build her image as the sophisticated savior of Vail Holdings, polished, poised, philanthropic. She launched design collaborations, showed up on magazine covers, spoke on panels about legacy and innovation. She loved a good camera flash. So I dimmed the lights. A word here, a whisper there, a forwarded email sent anonymously to the right journalist. Suddenly, a boutique furniture brand pulled out a collab without explanation. Then a photo from 10 years ago. Marlene drunk at a board retreat, red wine down her dress, flipping off a retired investor. Surfaced on a niche finance gossip blog. Not scandalous enough to make front pages, but just enough to ripple through her reputation. That was you? Theo asked one morning over eggs and black coffee. Not directly. Subtle. He smirked. You always were better with silence than spectacle. And then came the conference in Lisbon. Marlene was scheduled to speak on a panel about family legacy in modern business. Except the keynote sponsor dropped out the day before. Internal emails leaked. People started asking questions. None of it could be traced back to me. Every piece had been moved by someone else. It was never about destruction. It was about destabilization. Marlene thrived on the illusion of control. My job was to make that control slip piece by piece, like sand through her fingers. And all the while, I waited, patiently, because Theo had found something. You might want to sit down for this, he said one evening. I didn't. I stood. He opened a document, scanned page after page, then looked up. Your grandfather left a second will. My breath caught. What? Signed, dated, witnessed, 3 weeks before he died. It was filed quietly, but never brought forward. Why? My guess? Marlene got us someone, but the document's legit. He tapped the screen, and it names you as the rightful heir to the majority stake in Vail Holdings. I sat, For the first time in months, I felt something like stillness. Everything I had lost, it had never truly been hers. You could go public, Theo said. Not yet. Why wait? Because she thinks she's winning. Let her keep thinking that. Power doesn't just shift in one moment. It builds quietly until it tips. And I wasn't ready for the tip. Not yet. For now, I held the truth like a blade behind my back, cold, sharp, and ready. And every time I saw her smile in another headline or shake hands in a photo op, I whispered one line to myself. I give respect to those who deserve it, and the reckoning will come when the time comes. Respect is earned, but debts, those are collected. And her tab was running high. The night Theo showed me the second will, I sat in silence for what felt like hours. The weight of that document wasn't just in the words. It was in the years of stolen moments. The quiet erasure of everything I had a right to. Are you sure about this, John? Theo asked, breaking the silence as he packed up his files. I'm sure, I said, my voice steady but cold. This isn't just about money anymore. It's about setting things right. Over the next few days, I met with my legal team, meticulously preparing the lawsuit. The public filing was like dropping a stone into a still pond. The ripples spread fast and wide. When the news finally hit, the shock was palpable. Vail Holdings' stock price nosedived as investors scrambled to pull out. Banks froze accounts tied to Marlene's personal investments. Every contract she held came under scrutiny. The empire she had built on polished smiles and whispered deals began to fracture before my eyes. The media, once obsessed with her every move, now whisper rumors of fraud and mismanagement. And Marlene? She started to disappear. I stopped seeing her at charity galas and industry events. Mutual friends stopped returning her calls. Her social media presence became sparse, a shadow of the dazzling figure she once was. One evening, as I sat reviewing documents in my apartment, my phone buzzed. Her name flashed on the screen. For a moment, I hesitated. Then I answered. John. Her voice trembled. It was the first time I'd heard her sound anything less than composed. Why are you doing this? Her words cut sharper than any legal brief. I took a breath. Because, Marlene, while you were quietly taking everything from me, my family, my legacy, I was just watching. I chose to wait, to plan, to make sure that when the time came, the truth would come out. There was a pause. Then a bitter laugh, low and defeated. You think this is just about the money? The company? You don't understand what you're messing with. I smiled, but it was cold, unyielding. No, it's about justice. About making sure you can't just steal life and walk away untouched. And about revenge. Revenge isn't loud. It's not dramatic. It's quiet. It seeps in slowly, digs deep, and echoes long after the spotlight fades. Her voice cracked, barely a whisper now. You don't know what you're doing, John. This will destroy you too. I shook my head, the resolve in my chest solidifying. Maybe, but I've already lost so much. What I want now isn't destruction. It's balance. As the call ended, I looked out over the city skyline, feeling a strange calm settle over me. Marlene was losing everything, her power, her allies, her carefully crafted image. And for once, I wasn't the one left in the dark. The courtroom buzzed with tension as the judge read the verdict aloud. The second will was authentic. The majority stake of Vail Holdings was now officially mine. I felt a strange mix of relief and something heavier, responsibility. Theo clapped me on the back. John, you did it. Against all odds. I nodded slowly, staring at the papers that had rewritten my entire future. It's more than just winning, Theo. It's about setting things right. Months of battles, legal and personal, had led to this. Marlene's empire was crumbling under the weight of truth. The company assets froze, her investments halted, The media, which once celebrated her, now questioned her every move. One evening, as I was reviewing documents in my grandfather's old office, my phone rang. It was Marlene. I hesitated before answering. "John," she said, voice low, almost fragile. "Why are you doing this? Why are you tearing everything apart?" I leaned back in my chair, the silence stretching between us. Finally, I said, "Because you took everything silently. You stole what wasn't yours, piece by piece, and I just watched. But revenge, Marlene, revenge is quiet. It doesn't scream or shout. It just echoes. And that echo lasts longer than any lie you ever told." There was a pause, then a soft, defeated sigh. "You think you won?" she asked bitterly. "No," I replied, "because winning isn't about money or power anymore. It's about legacy." A few weeks later, I stood at the grand opening of the Edric Vale Foundation, named after my grandfather. It was a place to nurture creativity and honor true visionaries. Theo smiled beside me. This is what he would have wanted: a legacy beyond wealth, beyond power. I looked around at the young architects and artists buzzing with energy. This is just a beginning. When a reporter asked if I intended to reclaim my place in the family business, I shook my head. This foundation is my inheritance. It's about giving back, helping others build their dreams, not just my own. Meanwhile, Marlene's presence in the world had faded. Invitations stopped coming. Her name no longer whispered in elite circles. The empire she built on lies and manipulation was now a hollow shell. One rainy afternoon, I walked through my grandfather's office one last time. The familiar scent of cedar and old books welcomed me home. Above the door, a bronze plaque gleamed softly in the dim light. The words I'd seen so many times now held new meaning. Revenge was never loud. It just echoed longer than her lies ever could. I smiled, feeling a calm settle deep in my chest. Justice had been served, not with fire or fury, but with quiet patience and undeniable truth. And that was the most powerful victory of all.